Warning, this podcast contains secrets.
Shh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the As Seen on TV podcast for The Flash, Season 3, Episode 5, The Wrath of Savitar. I'm your host, Clio. With me, I have Dom and Nicole.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello! I enjoyed this episode.
This was a great episode.
It was really interesting.
All right.
What?
Before we get down
Oh, no.
and dirty about it, how many people are saying that Wally is actually Savitar?
I thought, okay, the first time that Julian gave the Savitar speech, the first one, when they talked to him,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went, okay, I feel like we can rule out Barry as being Savitar. This doesn't, the way he's talking, I don't know, it didn't seem like future Barry was Savitar. But the second time I watched the speech, I was like, there is no way that's not future Barry. And I don't know what changed in my mind. I was just like, that feels like future Barry.
Well, at the end of the episode when he's beating Barry up, he says, I am the future Flash. Now, I interpreted that, I've watched the episode twice, I interpreted that as, I am the future Flash, but the second time I interpreted it as, I am the future, comma, Flash. So.
Has Savitar ever called Barry Barry?
Mm-mm.
Not that I know of.
See, that's why I feel like it's Barry. He calls everyone by their full real names. Wally West, Joe West, Iris West. He calls everybody by their full names. He doesn't really refer to Barry as Barry. He calls him Flash.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's Barry.
So why would Barry want to kill Iris? That's the question. If Barry's
what did Barry do to himself? I think is another question.
I've just been seeing a lot of people being like, oh, I knew it was Wally and all this crap. I'm like, just because he got sucked into the Speed Force does not make him Savitar.
I mean, I think there's still a possibility that it could be Barry. It could be Wally. But after seeing that whole speech Savitar gives, I feel like it's Barry.
That was my first jump to as well. Especially after what he said, being like, Wally took my place. Not that, Wally is me.
Yeah, and honestly, the thing that another thing, because he says before Barry takes the thing off of Julian's head, Savitar says, you've been in pain your whole life, with your mother, your father, and he just like says things that feel like they're coming from a first person perspective, like you would know the pain he feels if you are also him.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was my big question because of all the media outlets going, oh my god, it's this person, oh my god, it's this person. It's just like, well, what does everybody else think?
Barry makes a lot of sense. I was leaning on the Wally side before this, but the fact that Cleo mentions that, that Savitar calls everybody by their full names, and I'm like, yeah, he does. He does. And he's
except for Barry.
Never called Barry Barry.
He might have called him Barry once just to prove he knew who he was, but he hasn't done it as much as he's done for everybody else.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other person that I think, and it's completely out of the ballpark, would be his dad. Not his dad on Earth 1.
His actual dad back from the dead?
Yeah. Just because of the way he died.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, if any of that is the case, if it's Barry, if it's Wally, if it's his father, what would cause them to want to kill Iris?
I mean, I don't like Iris either, so I mean...
Okay, so that just makes it okay.
Because I think Iris just happened to be the way to get to Barry.
Oh, yeah.
So if Barry fucked Savitar over so bad that he didn't care about anything anymore, like who knows how many eons he's been trapped in the Speed Force. That's gonna remove a lot of personal attachment to things.
Well, it kind of gives you an idea because Savitar was worshipped in the BCs because of like the Egyptians and stuff. So it's like he himself, Savitar, has been around for a while, jumping around in the time and screwing around with the Speed Force. So,
but now technically, on Earth 1, Barry's the first Flash ever, right?
First speedster, yes.
Outside of Savitar, because they say Savitar was the first, but
wibbly wobbly, because if Barry in the future throws Savitar into the Speed Force, Savitar can kind of ghost himself anywhere in time and space, basically.
Right, no, but I mean the legend that was told that we learned about a few episodes back claims that Savitar was the very first speedster. Well, guess what?
So is Barry. Yeah, okay. I like that.
You know?
Yeah.
So, it's definitely leaning more and more toward that for me now. Like, everything's kind of pointing at Barry.
Yeah, and this episode...
I mean, because, like, who's left to accuse? Because Barry made a point of, who are you? And he's trying to, like, rip the mask off. Like, we've just been under the assumption this whole time now that Savitar was a god and, that he wasn't a person. And Barry's so adamant now that he is a person and figure out who he is. And who's left? Like, Julian? No. Like,
Julian, Wally, and Barry were the only three I really had any thoughts about.
Yeah.
Could be Savitar.
It's Joe.
Joe, but that doesn't make sense.
Joe wants Iris dead.
Because they'd have to be in a position to be a speedster. So unless Julian becomes a speedster, that sort of
right. I mean, anybody can become a speedster. Technically.
Yeah. If they really wanted to make everyone's a speedster.
Yeah.
It's Ollie.
It's Ollie.
God damn it, Ollie.
Jeez, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, like with the start of the episode, though, we had like Wally training to see if he was fast enough to beat Savitar, and I love that whole thing. And then, like, by the end of it, it's like, okay, well, Wally's trapped in the Speed Force, so that explains why he isn't there in the new visions that Cisco keeps seeing that quote unquote change the future.
Yes.
That show all the changes rather. Yeah, and that's there. But we also didn't see when Wally went, he didn't see the ring on Iris's finger either, which after this episode still kind of explains why it's not there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, okay, so I don't understand why they wouldn't, given the man that Joe is, I don't understand why the two of them wouldn't just take Joe aside first and say, yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
Like, why would you... I'm not saying that Barry needed to ask him permission. I'm just saying you guys should have told him first, number one.
It's not that they needed to, but it's a respect thing. And the fact that both of them grew up in the same household with Joe and know the kind of man that Joe is, 100% should have asked Joe's permission. Joe would not have said no.
Yeah.
So there's no reason not to. There wouldn't even be a worry about whether or not Joe would say no.
Yeah.
So
Barry is just being Barry.
Well, yeah.
Selfish to the end.
It's not that he's selfish. He's trying to prevent Iris from dying, and he's trying to draw as least amount of attention to it. And yeah, maybe he wants Iris to live for a selfish reason, but he's still saving Iris's life. So at the same time, it's not completely selfish. You know?
I mean, I would have said like, oh, keep it a secret, but it's like, no, they kind of vowed to not do that anymore, and plus it's really hard to hide a ring that size, so it would have gotten out eventually.
But and I still think if they had told him first, he would have been like, "Why didn't you come? I'm happy, but why didn't you?" And it wouldn't have been a big a deal as
The
Yeah.
a
look
mass
on his
announcement.
face. I was
He
like,
was going to strangle them. Yeah.
"Oh my god!"
Mm-hmm.
It was hysterical. It was hysterical. But then
Mm-hmm.
we find out, he was hurt. He really was, and he has
Yeah.
every right to be.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I love that Cisco is going to be the best man.
Yeah, of course.
Not HR.
Claire doesn't have any other friends.
Oh, HR. This whole
Oh, you mean him?
episode.
Yep.
This whole episode, he just had me giggling because he's amazing.
I didn't bring enough boxers to this earth.
Hmm.
They
To
have
be,
some sort of super target that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it's like he can't visit a store in Central City, and
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
But when does he leave? We've only seen him leave for one episode. He's never
That's
left the
true.
compound
he leaves
otherwise.
every day to go get coffee. He does.
He makes coffee.
Yeah,
He makes
If
coffee.
you notice,
he goes and gets it.
oh, that's he's been a Judas. You're right, but no, when he comes in with the cups, it usually doesn't have a logo on it. Like the Jitters coffee cups have logos on it. He comes in with blank paper cups, like he made it himself 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He might have. I mean,
Yeah, he probably did.
He made it
becoming
in
a
the
coffee
Flash break room.
connoisseur.
That man's heart's gonna explode. I just.
No, I'm still thinking that he's the healthiest of the bunch, and he's gonna save Harry.
Yeah. And the Hendersons.
Yep.
And then something Savitar said that was interesting. He said HR survives. Or like he's not untouched by Savitar. And he said,
Is it
odd
because
because he's a coward.
because he's a coward, or because he's from another Earth and he ran away?
Oh.
But we see him
What if
on the.
what if Savitar is Harry?
You think Savitar is Harry?
You took everything away from me. You ruined my life. I mean, it is possible.
If Savitar is Harry, because Harry's been acting really weird lately.
Yeah.
And what if Savitar, like maybe that's not a suit and a mask, maybe that is like a body because of Harry being deathly ill and there's no coming back from it.
But if that's the case, that this is a future Harry because Barry
Yeah.
has to lock him up in the Speed
You've
Force.
taken everything from me. Guess what? Jesse's over there now.
Mm-hmm.
That's his everything. He was replaced over there.
Mm. Wow, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time we've had a Harrison as the villain.
We thought that Harry
Harrison
was
versus
the villain
Harrison.
for the longest time. Yeah.
Or HR turns out to be him. One of the two. HR's been playing dumb this whole time. Been right under their noses.
I love he's calling himself a genius in this episode. I feel like now he's overcompensating for all like the emotional abuse he took from Harry. He's gonna be like, I'm a genius, trust me.
It's okay. I was here the last time Caitlin did it. I know what I'm doing.
I mean, out of everybody that we talked about so far, Barry makes the most sense. HR has the most shock factor, I think, because you wouldn't expect him.
You mean HR or Harry?
HR.
HR.
Because he's just so loopy, he doesn't seem like he would be Savitar.
And Harry also has some sense to be made behind it, but I don't see it being as likely.
I mean, there's Wally being a possibility as well, because he is in the Speed Force. But I mean, I don't. I mean, they threw him in the Speed Force to make people go, "Oh, I know it's him," because that's where he is. No, that's not how it works.
And actually, there there isn't no evidence for it being Julian either, because when Savitar steps out of the Speed Force, he says, well, just like Atlas, I've always loved a good myth. And that sounded like something Julian would say.
This is true.
So, like, there's evidence for a lot of them, but I don't know, it depends on how far down left field they want to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, it could be completely, we could all be completely wrong. And it's somebody.
I think we've hit the head on the nail. It's one of those few people that we mentioned.
Speedy.
It's Ronnie. It's Ronnie.
It's Ronnie.
No, we know he's coming back as Ronnie, so he's not Savitar,
next episode.
Yeah.
So let's finish talking about this episode.
Oh, the kiss with Caitlin and Julian.
Precious.
Oh, I just wanted to do that just in case you didn't want to do that later after everything's said and done. It's like, oh, Julian.
Like, oh.
I was more mad at Barry than I was Caitlin.
Yeah, me too. But in the end, it's like, you did it, because, you know.
Because we have the prophecy. One will die, one will betray the team, and one will have a fate worse than death.
Worse death.
Wally seems to have the fate worse than death.
Fate worse than death.
Being trapped in the Speed Force.
Yeah.
Caitlin, maybe. We don't know if that's the prophecy fulfilled. But I feel like whoever that prophecy that's fulfilling is actually going to be Savitar. So I think that's what that's going to be. The one that betrays the team is actually Savitar.
I thought that was I mean, I guess it could be, but I thought that one was a red herring to make you think that it's supposed to be Savitar, but it's actually just somebody who does something against the team.
We have
not maliciously.
We have Caitlin, who, yes, she had this fragment of the stone this whole time. She was using it for selfish reasons. She wanted to, stop herself from having these powers and all that. But what got me more mad was Barry turns to her and goes, "It's okay, we've all done things."
No.
Right after getting mad at Wally for hiding the fact about Savitar. I mean, he just threw Wally off the team, benched him, whatever. Like, this whole thing. And then Caitlin does this, which I feel is 10 times worse. And he's just like, it's okay. We've all done stuff.
See, like, with Wally,
I don't agree it's 10 times worse, because, I mean, if they had the stone when they had the other part of the stone, they would have just thrown it in the Speed Force, and then Savitar would have been able to get out sooner.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
hey, that would have changed the future. You really want to change the future?
Yeah. Well, Caitlin's very convinced that she's the one that filled that part of the prophecy about betrayal.
And that's why I'm convinced that it's not.
Yeah. And, Cleo's right that, her taking the stone did prevent Savitar from coming back earlier. Wally, on the other hand, I mean, he is not in control of this stuff. He thought he was just hallucinating because of exhaustion, because he's been working his ass off. It was only when it became actually physical when he came out. And Barry was like,
beat the shit out of him.
What? Barry's like, oh, you're just seeing things. He wasn't really there. Barry, I am going to punch you in the face. You saw him get thrown around, being hung up on the wall by an invisible force.
What, Barry, did you think he beat himself up?
Exactly. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. No, Barry.
I do think that was in his head, though. I don't think that was actually Savitar there. I do think it was some manifestation of whatever, and he was kind of throwing himself around like Jim Carrey and Liar Liar.
He was being held up to the wall, though.
But yes, no, and that is what happened to Barry when Savitar first appeared to them. Savitar held Barry to the ceiling. Barry knows Savitar can touch you through minds or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he knows. Like, Barry, stop. All the main characters are pissing me off lately. On the odd side, Ollie less so than usual, but everyone else a little more so than usual.
Yeah, all the CW stars of their own shows we're rightfully angry at.
Yeah.
I don't. Kara wasn't bad last week.
Except for Sarah.
In Supergirl.
Sarah's fine.
else.
Supergirl's Sakara wasn't bad last week. I don't know if you watched it yet.
No, I did.
But we don't have an episode of Supergirl next week, so you can catch up then.
Cool, I will. Need a lot of catching up next Tuesday. Yeah. What got me the most was when they went to see Craig. I love that his name is Craig.
Craig, the Acolyte.
Yeah, Craig the Acolyte. I fucking love it. But they went to, like, the top of this mountain where there's this, like, crazy elaborate fucking statues and fires, and it's like, did no one notice this? Like, there's a lot of shit up here to know, just nobody sees.
It's a Savitar statue.
It's a fucking ruin. Like, not a ruin, but like, and they're doing rituals and God, it's like, how can you not see this shit? It's at the top of a mountain in a clearing.
You'd think one person would be with their telescope like, huh? Hey,
I mean, somebody out there has to have binoculars.
With your telescope?
I don't know.
What is he, Barnaby Jones from, what the hell, the Disney, well, it's not originally Disney, Babes in Toyland. You know, the guy sitting up on the hill with his telescope looking down at everybody. Or Rita Repulsa, that's probably a better reference that people can understand.
Yes.
I know my dad has a collection of binoculars and a telescope, so I know it's possible for people.
But is your house on a hill, and do you tilt it down and look at everybody in the town?
No, I'm saying somebody look up at the mountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, looking up at the mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said,
the mountain seemed to be like I don't even know what it was. We just saw the weird ruins and statue thing.
Is it a real mountain, Mount Buccaleto?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is, but
I have to look now.
It's definitely not a rocky mountain like, say, like in the Rockies. It's not a big thing. It's more like a glorified hill.
Yeah, there's no Mount Buccaleto.
No.
So, actually, glad you wrote this in the notes. I forgot. The box that they had was the box that they threw into the Speed Force, but it probably is the box. I'm not sure if we got an actual concrete answer on that.
No, I don't think it is, because the other box still had the gem in it. They didn't have the gem, the stone.
They didn't have the gem because they took the gem. Or
they took the stone and then they threw it in separately.
I feel like if they had the stone, that while they were worshipping it, not knowing Barry was coming, it would still be there. They wouldn't have taken it out to worship an empty box.
Well, it was in the Speed Force. Savitar had it. He had the piece that they threw in, right? Because that's how he got out. Because Wally threw the rest in.
Yeah. Right. Well, he got out because somebody needed to take his place, which is going to be an interesting thing trying to get Wally back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole premise of next episode. But they mentioned, they said it's a box that looks like it. So if they're saying it looked like it, then they must still have the original box. And Cisco did say he was going to analyze the box to see if it had the same heat signatures and
pretty sure they did, didn't they?
Yeah, but signatures of the other box. So saying that seems to imply that
Julian
this is a
was
new
saying
box.
that there's only one box.
He's only heard of one.
I feel like we're not done getting answers about that box.
No.
Is all I wanted to bring up, really.
Yeah.
There's more questions about that box in the rest of the show because we're just not worried about what's going on with the people because they're all being really stupid. The box is the only thing that is constant and we can actually rely on it.
I'm like, all you fuckers. I can't depend on you like I can depend on this box.
It's true, though. The box is solid.
Box won't betray me.
My head's going a totally different way with this conversation.
Whew. Rachel with what's with all the boxes.
You're missing out, Rachel. You need to watch Flash. It's all about boxes.
She's never gonna.
Oh, Rachel will be joining us in 2 weeks for the Flash. For the
that's
Supergirl
right.
crossover. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crossovers galore. Anyway, so yeah, he sucks Wally in, and he's trapped. So the question is, what does he have to do that Savitar had to replace him with? Had to get a replacement.
Is it just the energy that because he's running in the Speed Force, keeping moving and stuff, and knowing that Wally can reach the same speeds is like the switch of energy. If he were to stop, something would happen like catastrophically, and he knew it, so he had to put Wally in his place to keep it going.
I think this comes back down to what exactly is the Speed Force. We've been told the Speed Force is a living thing.
Yeah.
What if the Speed Force is a speedster and needs to be a speedster, and that speedster cannot leave unless another speedster takes its place?
So Savitar was the Speed Force, and now, well, okay, because we're gonna get this next episode too. But Barry got stuck in the Speed Force, and in a very similar fashion to how Wally was sucked in, Barry was sucked in. We saw like his mask rip off and his face, his suit got ripped. Similar to how Barry got sucked in. And the Speed Force spoke to Barry when he was in there. And it didn't have Savitar's, it wasn't
Right.
Savitar.
Right.
So I'm thinking the Speed Force, for some reason, needs a speedster in there to do something.
Yeah, because whatever was in there to Barry, I think that was an actual speedster talking to him.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think it was Barry. I don't think it was Savitar, but I think it was somebody.
That was all before Flashpoint, correct?
Correct.
So Savitar did mention that because of Flashpoint, he was allowed to, roam freely.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that was exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure it was. I knew it was about Flashpoint, and because Barry did Flashpoint, Savitar was able to do the things that he's been able to do. So
I do remember him mentioning Flashpoint.
Yeah. So if Barry being stuck in the Speed Force before Flashpoint and then doing Flashpoint, maybe it altered the Speed Force indefinitely.
Could have.
And that's what we're getting now. That's why there's these stipulations of one has to be in the Speed Force and they have to switch and all this jazz.
Or it could just be, I'm going to bring up Once Upon a Time.
They have to switch.
Like the mirror to Wonderland. Or was it Wonderland? Where the same amount of people going in has to be coming out.
It was the Hatter's hat.
Yeah, the Hatter's hat.
The hat, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like that. Maybe he just needed somebody to take his place. Like it was his prison and someone just had to be there. It didn't matter who.
Yeah.
Well, it did matter who. It had to be a speedster. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're going to find out because next episode is called Into the Speed Force.
Oh, wow.
Barry turns to the Speed Force, desperate to stop Savitar and save his friends. Barry turns to the Speed Force for answers. HR gives Jesse some advice. That was so sad.
That was cute too. He's like, I'm not your dad or anything. I don't know what to. And then she's like all over him. He's just like,
just hugs him.
Oh, it's like I should have had kids. This is awesome. I could just see him saying something like that, because nobody else hugs him.
Yeah, you're right.
And he seems like he's a person that loves hugs. And then Jesse's just like, blah, blah. And
Speaking of hugs, when Julian comes in, Caitlin goes to hug him and he puts out his hand and then they do the opposite.
They were
awkward. The awkwardness.
The awkward shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah. I as a practitioner of the awkward shuffle in real life, I can appreciate it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a real term, but if it's
it should be.
If it's not, I just coined it. Give me credit.
It is now.
It's like, that's the first time I've ever heard of the awkward shuffle, but it makes a lot of sense. And then it was not too long ago that I heard the phrase crop dust. I had no idea what that meant. And so,
one of my favorite terms.
Exactly. I heard it from you. And Mike took me aside and he calmly described what it meant. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. That makes sense.
Those of you who don't know, crop dusting is when you fart and walk around and you spread your fart. That's
So you don't know where it came from.
Yep.
It's like crop dusting a field.
Yep.
Yep.
I was just going off to the awkward shuffle. That was the first time I heard it, and it makes sense. So does crop dusting for me. So sorry, tangent.
Yeah. Seema in chat says, I mean, the theory that Savitar is Wally is possible. Savitar himself says something like, you couldn't kill me in the future because you are the good guy, right? So he might have some emotional connection. So if that's the case, like, I really want to believe that maybe it could be Barry, but why would Barry be fighting Barry?
Well, if you look at that sentence, you couldn't kill me in the future because you're the good guy. That could also be self-deprecating. Like, he used to be he looks at his past self. It's like, he used to be a good guy. It is like
I mean, yeah, Wally's possible. Barry's possible. Like,
in some weird way, I think Julian is still possible.
I'm rooting for HR. That would give him such an arc that I would love, because he would have been under their nose the whole time, playing the idiot.
But I love
That's
HR
your Peter
the
Pan
way
theory.
he is. I love him the way you know what? I like him being on the team because he adds, because they kind of have taken a little bit of a darker turn with this particular, arc, and HR's just been there for comic relief, and it's so refreshing.
And I think the thing is, Cisco also has changed. Mm-hmm. Like, his brother's dead. He's got a bit of a darker tone in the way he speaks about things. So he's not the comic relief anymore.
No.
We kind of need HR to fill in that gap.
Yep.
I still love Cisco. And I actually love that he's got like this different kind of humor to him now too.
Like the corpse with, Grodd and King Shark, or Killer Shark, or whatever his name is, how that would be. Street Shark, yeah.
He will always be a Street Shark to me.
Yep. And he's made comments a lot like that, like the best but worst video game fight ever between Grodd and Savitar and the Flash, stuff like that. He's still in his his culture, pop culture references a lot, but like in this episode I saw the only bit of humor was when Wally went to him with HR and was like, show me the future, vibe me in. And then when they were out and Wally saw what he saw, he just bolted right out of there, and Cisco's like, come on, like,
why doesn't anyone listen to me?
Exactly. I think that was his comical part in this episode.
Oh yeah,
I love when he mentioned.
I'm not saying he doesn't have a comical.
He does still.
I love when he mentioned though about the wedding, that he would be the best man if he can get his +1.
Yeah, because they're gonna tear up the dance floor with Gypsy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, literally tear up the dance floor. They'd be like teleporting through all over the place. Yeah.
She'd do a couple badass backflips or something.
Oh man.
Yep.
I hope she comes around more and they actually have some sort of relationship, whether it's just a glorified friendship or an actual kissy one.
How does that go, Cleo?
No, you don't get it a second time.
No? I'll just have to rewind it and watch it again.
Make a gif out of it.
Yeah.
So, Dom, where can people find you?
You can find me down below at Phenomedom, PHENOMEDOM.
Phenomedom. I gotta get John to sing it, because they did it on Walking Dead and John didn't sing it, so I have to train him. Nikki, where can the people find you?
On Twitter at LadyVenom24, LADYVENOM24.
You can find me at Cleomoto, probably tweeting nothing but PAX for a while, going to PAX Boston. You can find all of us at ASOTV Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Google+, and right here on YouTube. Follow us for some more podcasts from some of your favorite TV shows, video games, and movies. Till next time, bye guys.
We need a PAX South.
There is a PAX South.
What?
No, there's PAX North.
This is PAX East.
No,
this is PAX East. PAX South is in Sacramento.
Oh, then we need a PAX North. That's what it is.
Where would that be? North Dakota?
PAX North, PAX East.
Oh, in Canada. Nobody wants to go to Canada.
Thought there was a PAX in Canada.
I don't know. There might be something similar in Vancouver.
Yeah,
No, it's not PAX though.
They changed